How did the police tell you the news about who they found?
Oh, they called me. Uh, Geez, I have to think when they called me a couple of days ago and asked if I was going to be home yesterday, which I said yes, thinking they were coming just for a visit to meet me. And he said, Steve said that he had, they were going to another case, but they were just going to drop in and say hi. Well, they dropped in all right, said hi, and he said, "Are you ready?" I said, "Ready for what?" And he said, "Are you ready for me to tell you who did this?" And I said, "You're kidding." And he said, "No." And he told me.
What was your immediate reaction when you heard?
I was numb. At first of all, I didn't even realize who he had said. I thought, how do I know him? Well, then he mentioned his wife, and then I knew.
What was his wife's name?
Heather.
What was the connection?
Well, we were friends. We saw a fair amount of them socially, and they had two boys, and all the kids would go and play together, and we'd have a group of people up for a barbecue and what have you. So socially, we just got together the odd time.
Were their boys the same age as your daughter?
I think they probably were, if I remember correctly. They were a little younger than Kenneth, yes.
At the time, did you suspect him at all?
No. Not at all. No.
Do you remember how he was reacting at that time? If he was helpful with the family trying to search and things like that? Anything like that?
Yes, he was on the searches with us. Everything seemed very normal. I mean, I never had an inkling that anything was wrong.
So he helped you search for your missing daughter?
He did. He was on the searches.
How disgusting is that? How disgusting is that?
Awful. Or maybe he was trying to live with her. I don't know. I'm only guessing.
Knowing that he committed suicide about 5 years ago, what goes through your head?
Right now, a lot. Right now, a lot. I just don't know what to think. And you just sit by yourself for a little while and try and just sort it out. But then you've got to go on living too. Once you get to a certain point and you can't get any further, I think it's time, okay, you go forward, not backward.
What does it mean to have closure in this case?
Oh, it feels, it's not a happy occasion for anybody, but it's a contentment. To me, it's contentment. It's over. It's done. We know who did it. We don't know why. We never will. But it has brought a certain contentment.
What are your thoughts about Guy Paul Morin having to go through kind of this along with your family?
Well, I mean, it's too bad that he had to go through this. And I think it was really because of one police force's mistake, a huge mistake. But there was a lot of people hurt by this. Now, I hope that he and his family can get on with life and do as they wish, as well as we can.
At the time, did you feel like hate or resentment towards Guy Paul Morin?
No, I never hate. There was only one person I could say I sure didn't like, and that was the killer of Christine. But I don't think I could ever use the word hate. No.
All right. But at the time, did you think it was Guy Paul Morin?
Oh, sure, we were told it was. And, I mean, we weren't running this, and it was a show at that time, believe me. We weren't running it. Somebody else was. So you're going to believe what they say, and particularly the authorities.
How disappointing is it that your daughter's killer can't face justice?
Well, I wish he was here to face justice, as well as maybe find out exactly what happened. But again, you have to get over that. He's not, And I'm sure he suffered in his own way. So he suffered for it. It's just not the way we're used to, that's all.
All right. Tell us a little bit about your daughter and her personalities and things she liked. And
Well, she was a bubbly little thing. She loved animals, any kind, from an ant to a skunk to a mouse. I think had she lived, she'd have been a veterinarian. And she loved stealing her brother's clothes, particularly the football shirts and things like that. And she was a happy little thing, just as happy as could be. She didn't have a problem in the world.
how many children did you have?
Just Kenneth and Chrissy.
All right. How close were they?
Pardon?
How close were those two growing
Oh,
up?
well, shall we put it this way? They fought pretty well once a day. They were very close.
All right.
And Kenneth taught her to play baseball and football, and she was a little tomboy.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I would like to thank everybody in the community that have helped us and supported us for the last 36 years. Without a lot of you, we couldn't have struggled through. It's been great. And as far as the police are concerned, I'd like to thank Metro Toronto Police. They were very good at keeping us up to date of what was happening. And I know they worked very, very hard to get to this end.
How did they find out it was him?
It was through science. And I don't quite understand the whole situation, but it narrowed down to Calvin.
Nice to see that after all this time they were still working on it. Like,
That's right.
because you haven't. How many years was it? 36. You said
36 years.
36 years, 0 results.
Yeah.
But they're still hammering away on it.
There's-
What does that mean to you?
They're certainly dedicated to their job. That's one thing. And not only the police in Toronto, the workers behind the scene, all these, that have taken all these samples and evidence and taken it apart. It's just not one little force or one big force that's done it. There's a lot of people have been working.
And what does it mean to you that they didn't give up?
It means a lot. It means an awful lot, because they could have just said, well, fine, after a certain amount of time, we don't continue this. Because I do remember at the beginning when they did say, Janet, we have to stop searching. We can't search every rock in Canada. And your heart just went down to your boots. So that was a disappointment, but then you had to understand why and how. We weren't the only case.
I was stunned. You could have knocked me over with a feather and buckled my knees. Can you go? Relief. Yes, finally an answer. And then they said who it was. And it was just the opposite end of the scale. Just devastated, betrayed. This was a person my family trusted. He'd searched for her in the fields. He was at the funeral with his wife. He was at our house after the funeral for the wake. Like, that's some freaking nerve. And it's turned to anger. My emotions are all over the map. I'm up, I'm down. I'm angry, I'm happy. It just, nothing in this case went normal. And it's just fitting that the end is the same way.
How disgusting is it that he did all that? He went to the funeral. He helped you search for your sister, knowing all well
That he killed her.
that he killed her and hid her.
It's like I said, it's infuriating. What a sick person. Sitting there reveling in our pain and anguish. Because what other reason is there?
What relationship did your family have with his?
My father worked with his wife. The kids, we'd hang out. There'd be barbecues at their house, barbecues, get-togethers. They were friends, good friends.
And they lived right next door?
No, they lived in Toronto. We lived in Richmond Hill when we first met, and then we moved to Queensville.
Okay, but they were close friends.
Yep.
What was the relationship like with them after your sister's death and disappearance?
His wife couldn't do enough to help out with the family. Like I said, he was out searching in the fields, supportive. It's just, you said disgusting. It's beyond disgusting. It's horrific
But
that he was acting like he was helping out. Meanwhile, he was just reveling in the pain that he caused.
were your family's friends for a while after that, even?
I believe so, yeah. For a couple of years at least. And then, people lose touch over time. People move, jobs change.
So when you heard the name and you heard the DNA evidence back it up 100%, what were your thoughts?
Oh, when I heard the DNA, what the police said to me was 1 in a trillion is the percentage of, chance of someone else having the same DNA. But when they said who it was, I was just devastated.
How much would you have liked to seen justice served to this man?
Justice was served. He served it to himself. And yeah, after 30 if Durham police hadn't have done what they did, maybe they would have caught him back in 1984 or 85. But you also have to look at the fact of any decent defense lawyer could get 90% of the evidence thrown out because they don't know what's real and what was fabricated. So in reality, for our family, we don't have to go through that hell again. We went through the trials twice, the appeals upon appeals. It's a little more peaceful that way. Yes, I would have loved to have seen him brought to justice in 1985 instead of chasing a ghost in Guy Palmer Inn. Thank God Guy Palmer Inn can finally walk around and not worry about people saying things behind his back. Anybody who's been looked at in this case, or someone's given a side eye to, now, no. They all have vindication. They all have clearance.
What does it mean to you that the police never gave up?
It's incredible. It's incredible. The strength they had to keep going on a case that was this old. They never gave up. They fought for Christine.
All right.
They never gave up. They never gave up the fight to find justice for Christine, and it's proof that anything can happen. Families out there missing, not having answers, cold cases, never give up. The science is getting there. The science is what solved this case.
How old were you when your sister went missing?
14.
14. A long time ago, obviously 36 years ago. What memories do you have of her?
Oh, playing baseball with her, teaching her how to throw, her stealing my stuff and me yelling at her and chasing her around the house. She loved animals. She loved any animal. She had a pet toad that lived in our cold cellar that she took care of. Just a good heart, and I have no doubt she would have become a vet.